I got dressed up for this, so hopefully y'all enjoy it. Thank you, Douglas, for the great introduction. And first of all, I just want to give thanks to Annika for inviting me out. I don't get too many invites in Mississippi. Strangely enough, specifically being that we are pretty much a conservative state. But I think being black and conservative has its nuances, and a lot of people feel leery about it. But that's what I'm here to do, to change the face of what that looks like, what it means, and how we go about including everybody into the conservative movement. There's nothing more inclusive than conservatism. Why? Because our principles are based on the Bible. Amen? And the Bible is the most inclusive thing ever. Because what? Jesus died for who? No, for the white person, right? That's what someone told me. Or was it for the Hispanics? It was for everyone. So we can agree that he died for everyone. That means that he has something that everyone can benefit from. And if we can draw our inspiration, our policies, our behavior from such an idea, from such a great God, then there's no party or any policy that can beat that. And that's why it's important for us to remain conservative on those principles. Because guess what? People change. Those who are office change. Culture changes, but God remains the same. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And that's who I choose to back, and those are the principles I choose to stand on. And that's the reason why I'm here today. So if I ask you a question, I'm going to go around the room. When someone mentions a conservative, what do you imagine? Anybody, just throw it up. Give me what you think.
Limited government.
Limited government. Okay.
Strong national defense.
There you go. Anything else?
Physical restraint.
Physical restraint.
Picking yourself up by the bootstrap.
There you go. Improvement. We'll go there. Anything else?
Strong military. Always one for them.
Strong military, strong defense, yeah. Gotta be able to take care of yourself. But there's three things I think basically sum up what conservatism is, and that's going to be Christian values, moral absolutism, and American excellence. I love all three of those things, right? Christ is king. Moral absolutism tells me that there is a right and there is a wrong, right? It is wrong to murder babies, period. All right? It is wrong to murder an innocent person. It is wrong to steal. It is wrong to lie. It is wrong to lie. There's a lot of things that we can agree on. And then when it comes to American exceptionalism or being excellent, it's no different from black excellence and what we always hear on social media, right? We just want to be great. What's wrong with being great? You want to be great, right? Greatness brings goodness in society to me. Right? Greatness inspires others to go do the same thing. If I didn't have great people in my life, I probably wouldn't be here today. Looking up to some of my local leaders and fathers, because I grew up without a father. Right? And I think I want to go back to that real quick after we define it. But most importantly, the image of what a conservative is kind of bland. Right? We think some old white guy in a suit, red tie, that's some uber white nationalist and just lame, loves to golf. Well, I'm here to tell you, no. That is not who conservatives are. Has that been the prevailing image? Sure. But we're here to shake things up, baby. Like, you know what I'm saying? We wearing suits, we got the caps on, we cool, we work out, we flossing, we doing everything else everybody else is doing. But we doing it how we want to do it. And that's how conservatism should be. It should be you, right? Make it your conservative. Like, you don't have to be like everybody else. I mean, you can think about some people that maybe, piqued your interest. Candace Owens. She's probably like unlike any other conservative you thought about, right? You look at Brandon Tatum. You can talk about Charlie Kirk. Some of these younger people who are influencing the next generation, they're doing it their way, and it's okay. It's not going to be like it has been, and that's good. It's good to be unburdened by what has been. In many ways, all right? So that's one thing I want to leave you with. Be who you are, and learning that who you are is important is what made me become who I am today. Because a lot of times we think we're insignificant. Maybe we weren't told that what the difference we make is important. But it's not about making a difference, it's about making your difference. Okay? So your difference is going to be different from mine. Because if you're just making a difference, then you're going to be forgotten about in a generation or two. But if you make your difference, right, what can you do that's going to create or at least inspire the next kid to do the same thing? Or create a change within your community? And that's what I decided to focus on for myself. Like, my difference was in the music industry. What can I put into the atmosphere that's going to help raise up the community and inspire change, right? So I decided to talk about biblical principles, to talk about Christian values, to talk about patriotism in a way that has never been talked about before. And that landed me a #1 Billboard hit without major label backing. Right? You think you got to go the system's way. A lot of people think you got to cater to the system. You got to get in the system. I'm telling y'all to operate outside the system. And that's what conservative principles and values allow you to do. We can take down the system. Down with the system, right? That's what they say. We can take it down. You know, and some people run on that. Like, we're going to drain the swamp or whatever it is, right? Getting people out of places that are doing nothing to further the advancement of society. And that's what I had to learn as a young kid when I witnessed all of the mediocrity that was around me and just how people had no aspiration to do anything better. They just accepted the status quo. And me being me, if you follow me on social media, or you might find out today, that's never been my attitude. I've been a rebellious person at heart, or more so just like, there's got to be more to life than just surviving. I want to live. Don't y'all want to live? All right? Y'all want to live. Y'all don't want to just be out here paying your taxes, going to work, and just living check to check. You want to be able to own businesses. You know, one of the principles in the Bible, and I think it's selfish if you don't believe this, is you want to have more than enough. That's not selfish, it's biblical. Because the reason why you have more than enough is to be what? A blessing to others. And you can't be a blessing to others if you only have what you need. So when people are like, well, as long as I got what I need, I'm good. Wrong. How can you be of influence and how can you help others if that's all you got? So you got to aspire to want to have more than enough so you can be that blessing. But, you know, take you back a little bit. I grew up in Kilmichael, Mississippi. If you're not familiar with it, it's like wedged right between Winona and Eupora. And on the other side, we got Vaden. It's right on the edge of the Mississippi Delta. So I say I grew up in the Delta. Now I grew up in the woods. You know, when they say, you know, when they ask ladies, would you rather be in the woods with a bear or a man? I was like, give me the dude, because I've been out there with the bears, I've been out there with the wolves, I've been out there. It's not fun, all right? They mean you no good. But I grew up amongst just animals and the country living. You know, when it comes to arts or technology, it was non-existent, okay? I did not know what broadband internet was until I went to college. And I'm not that old, all right? So I just want to know, we're that far behind. It's not my age. It's just where I grew up. So I didn't have those resources available to me. But when you're in a season of scarcity, when it comes to resources, your greatest tool at your disposal is your ability to be resourceful, right? That's something you need to take with you no matter where you go. Is how can I, no matter what season I'm in, be resourceful with what I have around me? And I said, okay, so I don't have a hip-hop scene, but I want to be a rapper. Well, I don't have a place to record because it's too expensive. Well, can I just... Early YouTube, okay? It's not like it is today. How can I go in there and find ways to teach myself how to record myself, right? These are things that you learn to desire from a place of scarcity. Some people do, right? If you got the right attitude. Other people just accept it and be like, well, I guess I'll just be working the grocery basket for the rest of my life. That's just the cards life dealt me. No. You're going to deal me some new cards out here, all right? Who want to be dealt new cards? Only one person? Y'all life must be good. Where y'all parents work at? I'm just saying, y'all didn't raise your hands. I'm like, man, I thought I would want new cards being dealt when I grew up, right? It's like, man, I want some new cards because right now when I feel like I got a bad hand. I need to fold. But learning to play your hands is even better because I'm thankful now that I look back over my life for those struggles. Right? I used to get bullied, believe it or not, for being smaller than most people. I'm still the average height for a man in Mississippi. Just want to put that on the record. Just put it on the record. Average height. I'm 5'8". Barely made the cutoff. All right? But you got guys who's on the football team bigger than you. I was right now about 185. Then I was like $150. So you're getting picked on how much you can do. I didn't grow up with my dad in the house. Single parent household. And in the household was, when you think about the poverty line, I was below the poverty line. So I was the poverty of the poverty. Right? And my mom was on disability for most of my life. And we dealt with, having that one meal a day, and learning to make do with what you could. If something broke, you didn't call nobody. You just figured it out. I don't know. Some of y'all might not can relate, but that's just what we did. We didn't call nobody. We just figured it out. And a lot of times it was me figuring it out because I was the oldest boy in the house. And my sisters had long grown, and that's all we could do. Witnessing alcohol abuse, domestic violence, you name it. All I heard in school growing up is, as a black man in America, 1 in 3 of you gonna end up in jail by the time you graduate. 10 years after graduation, 1 in 3 gonna end up dead. All this pessimistic outlook on life, and all I could really see was not the proverbial white man beating me over the head. It was people that looked just like me doing the things that people talked about. Like, wait a minute. Y'all said that it was because of the white man this happened, but no. He black, and he beat my mama. He black, and he threatened me. He's stealing from me. He doing all of this. So we want to know why these principles matters, because truth matters, right? Above all else, truth matters. So if truth matters, then as I'm experiencing life and things are not adding up, as they say, math ain't mathing, then I need to wonder why. And then that means somebody is telling me a lie and selling me a bill of goods that I need to get a refund for. Unfortunately, a lot of my family and friends growing up, they were eating good off of it. They felt that it was cool, that it was not their fault they didn't get the things they got, or it was because they was black and been oppressed, because there was a woman been oppressed, whatever issue they came up with, whatever excuse it was. It wasn't until I became a man and started exploring things myself, right? You can go certain places, you can assume things, or you can go figure it out. Let me really go see how restrictive things are for me in America. And one of the biggest tests for me was when I joined the military. I joined the military in April 2011. I didn't want to be super patriotic. I was not about to be Captain America, okay? I just want to be the person sitting behind the desk giving orders, as far as away from the battlefield as possible, right? I wasn't gung-ho about offering my life up for this country, but I knew that it was important. So I did the next best thing was to become a linguist. Now, before you say anything, you're thinking just what I'm thinking. A Mississippi kid learning a whole new language when we barely speak English. Yes, that was I. Me and my Mississippi accent and drawl going over to language school in Monterey, California, learning Hebrew of all languages. All right? So not only do I have a whole nother alphabet, but we read from right to left. Man, it was interesting. But the funny thing, though, was the first 2 weeks of language school, they teach you English. It was like, y'all have been learning English wrong. And it wasn't just me in the room. There were people from California, New York, and other places across the United States. They taught us English. Because before they can teach you a new language and a new thing, you have to understand the basic things first. Right? You have to go back to the base. You have to be grounded in something. So they had to re-ground everybody so we can be on the same page before they move forward. And so I learned my new language, and guess what? To my surprise, I was top of my class. I was like, not bad for a guy from Mississippi, you know what I'm saying? grew up in Kilmichael. I didn't have the greatest school. We didn't have many resources. 1A. We probably should have been a negative A. I always tell people we should have been negative A. My graduation class was 22 people. Right? 22 people, and we were considered a big class because like 5 people flunked the year before, so that's the only reason why our class was inflated. You know. But super small class, super small school. Didn't have a band. When we played sports, I played both sides of the ball, football. Like, I never got off the field. It was an option. You ever been in a situation where it wasn't an option to just quit? If not, you will experience those as you live on a little bit longer. There's no option for you to quit. And that's how I grew up. Like, there was no option for me to quit. So I learned a lot of principles that helped me today and attitudes to persevere, to fight, to not quit. Like, these are things I learned just from the adversity in life. You know, it says there's no advancement without adversity, and there's no destiny without difficulty. Right? These are things that you're going to have to go through, press through. And the more familiar, the more comfortable you become with these circumstances, the less likely you are to feel defeated because of them. And I had this whole mystical idea that somebody who was successful never failed, right? It's like, man, these people don't fail. Success means that you get it right, and you get it right all the time. No. The fastest way to success is to fail fast. So the faster you fail, the sooner you realize what doesn't work. So I was like, oh, this doesn't work, so let me try something else. And like I said, y'all will figure things out as you get older, and you're going to try some stuff. You're going to test some stuff. So I went to military school, did that, went on to do my job in Augusta, Georgia for about 6 years. And even there, I was still killing it. But it was there where I started to be challenged on my ideals. You know, a lot of times people assume based on where you're from, who you're associated with, your gender, whatever, your religion, where you align with most things. But I remember this specifically. It was a guy by the name of Specialist Melton. So where I worked, it was unique. Because I was a Hebrew linguist, I worked for NASA, right? And NASA they had a base down there in Fort Gordon, Georgia, and it was a joint task force. So we worked with everybody from the Navy, the Army, Marines, Coast Guard, down to civilians. One guy, he was an Army, Specialist Melton. He was an atheist, right? So we're just going to start there. He was an atheist, and he saw me in my, happy Christian self walking around. Hey, how you doing? God's good, that type of stuff. And one day, because we had night shifts. In the military, you get voluntold. You don't volunteer. So we worked a night shift, and during night shift, to stay awake, we would engage in conversation. Okay, and he would challenge me on my stances. He would ask things like, so when it comes to abortion, why do you believe abortion is a thing? And my answer was just because we should preserve life, specifically innocent life at all costs. But why though? Like really getting into the nitty and gritty and things like that, or when it comes to how we run the government financially, or limited all these things. I never had anyone to challenge my worldview. And many of you probably haven't had nobody sit you down and really challenge it either. And I feel like this is the issue with a lot of Americans, And when they have to face somebody that challenges their worldview, they start to develop cognitive dissonance, and they don't want to deal with it. They get mad, they get angry, like, how dare you? And it's like, but why not? You're only angry. Your anger is not because I challenge. Your anger is because you don't have a response. The Bible says, when someone asks you the reason for your faith, be prepared to give an answer, so that you may win them over. You have to be prepared. Y'all run around here being Christians. I don't know if you're Christian or not, but if you're a Christian, just being Christian and not knowing why, that's a terrible place to be in. It's nice, right? You may make it to heaven, who knows? But you're not going to help anybody else without that. Find out why you're a Christian, right? Why? Why are you conservative? Are you conservative because your parents conservative? Probably not. Maybe you are. Maybe you were just raised that way. You know, most of us are raised conservative. I feel like I was raised conservative. My mama sent me to church every Sunday. She did not go herself. I sung in the choir, you know. And back then, it was okay to be against gay people, right? Like, it was like, no, we don't do with that. That's against God's principle. You know, now today you get counseled, stuff like that. But I felt like we was raised very conservatively. But when it came to voting or standing on those principles, we did the complete opposite when it came to the public sphere. And that baffled me. Like, you believe this, you live that, but it don't add up. Where's the disconnect happening? What is it happening at? And recently, over the last 12 years, we've developed what I call identity politics. You know, you may be familiar with it, but it's more so based on your gender, your sexual orientation, your age, your race, your religion, and all you're doing is voting or catering toward that one thing and making that your identity. Which, you know, as conservatives or Christians, our identity is what? Christ. Our identity is found in Christ. That's it. There's no other thing. So when your identity is now being misaligned, what do? This is why I tell people Christianity is so important for the conservative movement. Because if we are not based on something that's unchanging and unmoving, all we're going to do is continue to move to the left. Well, your left, right? We're going to continue to move to the left. And next thing you know, just like some people look back, it's like, I don't remember, wasn't it like normal like 8 years ago to say stuff like this, but now it's no longer normal? And we continue to do that because the base keeps moving. But if you ground yourself in something that's unchanging, unmoving, then you will always return back to it. And that's why the Conservative Party is what it is. Now, it's not that we're against change, right? I like to change my clothes. I like to change the shows I watch, right? So it's not that we're against change. We're against radical change. Why? Because it disregards all of the people that may be hurt from such change. We like to take things slow and really measure it out. Okay, look into the future. Right, how will that impact us 10, 20 years down the road? Going across the board. Like, is this an economic thing? Is this going to be a cultural thing? What about education, right? You got to put all the pieces together. I know some people are like, man, you conservatives are stuck up. No, we're not. You know, we just don't get blown away by the wind. Like, I want to be flimsical. I want to be a man of principle. The only way to be a man of principle is to stand on something. And we ain't talking about an escalator, all right? We ain't standing on the escalator. We're standing on the ground, right? We just standing here, right? And what I've learned as an influencer in my circle is we're not popular as people make us out to be. I don't know. You feel popular as a conservative? No. You feel popular as a conservative? What about you?
In Mississippi.
Mississippi, yeah. Anywhere else you feel popular?
No.
Anybody got a different experience? Y'all in the back, y'all conservative too?
I was definitely not popular.
So it's more than likely it's not a popular thing to do, you know. But and this is what helps me out: conviction over compromise. See, compromise is being worried about being on the right side of history. That's what they say all the time, right? You need to be on the right side of history. I don't know if y'all heard that yet, but that's what they try to throw in our face. I said, I'm not concerned about that. I'm being concerned about being on the wrong side of truth. That is what conviction is. Conviction is being concerned about being on the wrong side of truth. Because guess what? If I'm on the wrong side of truth, because history is history, but truth, man, that'd be terrible, right? Common sense things. Two genders, right? Man and woman. But since the dawn of time, why is that even debated today? All the education we have in the world, and we can't describe what a woman is. And just in case you're in here and you're still confused, is an adult human female. Okay? That is what a woman is. What a man is, adult male human. Simple. Should the kids be getting gender affirming care? Having their genitals mutilated? No. They can't even decide that they want to smoke. They can't decide that they want to do other stuff. Matter of fact, they got to be 12 or 13 years old before they can decide in divorce which parent they want to go to. But they can decide a lifelong, permanent decision about taking off their breasts and removing everything else. That's crazy. That's goofy, right? Is that common sense? Would y'all agree? Kids can't even run with scissors. Okay, I just want you to know that. Like, it's like, hey, don't run with those scissors. But we want to say, as long as the scissors in my hand is cool, we can do what we want to do. It's like, no. Kids don't know. They're still growing up. Some of us want to be Peter Pan and Batman. Batman. Then you realize, like, oh, he's not real. I know Christmas coming up. Santa Claus, right? Some people still believe in Santa Claus to the 12 and 13. So you realize, oh, it was just a guy that someone created. My wake-up call when I realized Santa Claus wasn't real, it was a very formal way I found out. Woke up, Christmas, looked in there, nothing was in there. But you know what was on the desk? It was a card that was made from my computer. You know, I was smart enough to know about the programs, but it was made from my computer. So I forget the program they used back then in early 2000s to make cards. But, man, y'all wouldn't know what I'm talking about. But they had the card, and it said, it basically just said you're not getting enough for Christmas. And then I was like, but I did everything right. But then I realized, man, this whole thing been made up the whole time. It's great I've been getting one thing here and there, but, man, the only reason I've been getting one thing is like because you start looking at stuff like, why, mama? Because I remember my mama, I'm the Y kid. Y'all the Y kids, and y'all the Y kids. I'm the person that get on your nerve. So when I grew up, my mom be like, we ain't got money for this. And I go look in the refrigerator, and then it's like full of beer. Now shut it. I'll go back to my mama. You don't have $20 for me to go on this field trip, but you got $200 worth of beer in the refrigerator? What is going on? Right? I was that why kid. Like, why is this a thing? And that why is what made me who I am. That curiosity. Like, I need to know. It caused me to study, do more research. And I realized, like, the reason why you have that in there, it's not because what you're saying it is, it's because you're just making bad decisions. You know, I am so, I'm extreme when it comes to self-accountability. I'm extreme as you can get. If somebody came in here right now and shot me in the leg and then walked out the door, just saying, I'd be like, dang, I should have dodged that. Not like, man, this dude just came in here and shot me. I'd be like, man, I should have dodged. I should have been quicker. I should have known. That's how extreme when it comes to self-accountability I am. It's like, man, I'm here because I didn't make the right decision. And we've gotten to a generation where nobody wants to take responsibility for the poor choices. They're now pushing those consequences off on other people. And like I said, abortion is one of those things. You know, when it comes to the welfare system, that's one of those things. Pushing your inability to make sound decisions on other people who are paying taxes for your mistakes. This is why we want a big government. People want a big government. This is why they want a big government. I need you to compensate me to cover for what I've done wrong because I don't want to take blame for it. And when you start to push this in people's faces, this is why they get upset. Like, wait a minute, whoa. But if you really think about it, if you just take responsibility, it helps everybody. I don't want to have to keep going, signing up for programs and depending on how the government, I don't want to kiss nobody's booty. Oh, so can I say that here? I feel like we can. We're adults. But I don't want to be kissing nobody's booty around here. I want to be like, nah, I earned it. It's mine, right? Because when you earn something, it's different from when you're giving it. If you're giving something, you don't feel, I feel like you don't have any connection to it, right? If I just give you something, Maybe you didn't even want it. Can you imagine? I wasn't even thinking about this. It wasn't even on my mind. But you gave me something, and then the person that gave it to you has some very sentimental value instilled in it. And then they come by next time they see you, and it's in the trash. It's like, oh, why did you throw it in the trash? And you're like, I don't even know what that was. But if you went out and earned it, all right, you spent your time. You didn't go to the parties with the rest of your friends. You didn't go on those extravagant trips we see on social media. You was like, hey, man, I see y'all in Cancun. I see y'all in the Bahamas. Y'all looking nice, but I got a goal. I got a dream. I'm working toward. I'm making the necessary sacrifices. And then you get there and you get what you want. And then how much better do you feel? Right? That's kind of how I feel about the border. Right? A lot of us Americans are doing that. We out here working, doing what we're supposed to be doing, obeying the law, trying to be upstanding citizens. And then someone just hops across the room, says, hello, ta-da. And then the government's like, here's $1,000, here's $1,000, here's a house, here's a home, here's clothes, we love you. And you're just like, wait a minute, bro. I've been here this whole time. This is why issues like securing the border is important to conservatives. It's because America first. There's some people who was in front of you who have been sowing into this nation, making it the greatest nation on the earth. But we are ignoring them. Why? Because some people have some type of emotional or irrational emotional connection to some strangers that if they were mandated to open up their homes to house them, they were rejected. But they would endanger your homes and your family and your hard-earned money in return? Yeah, no way. No way, Jose. See, what I'm trying to do is show you conservatism is not just a thing. It's a whole thing. It's not just this one idea. It permeates throughout our country in all walks of life. And this is why it's important. This is why we have the stances that we have. Because we, like I said, extreme accountability. You wouldn't want nothing like that. And you wouldn't want to do nobody else like that. I sure wouldn't. I mean, it would be fun to just walk up in your house and be like, hey, man, y'all got some chips? Matter of fact, I don't even ask. I just go in there, look in the refrigerator, and then tell you, hey, y'all out of chips. You know, we need some more steak up in here. What's going on? And then you looking at me like, huh? I'm like, hey, don't worry about it. Like, that's terrible. Secure our borders. Christianity has been persecuted in the United States. There's a lady by the name of Beatty, and she just got sentenced 41 months in prison for protesting outside of abortion clinic, Planned Parenthood. Trumped up charges. She was so violent, according to the what the conviction says. But while she was there, she was never arrested by the police. Isn't that interesting? They don't care about us. The biggest lie that, and I go by Satan, the biggest lie that can get you to believe is that we're not being persecuted. I was listening to Vadi Bakum. He said that the last 150 years of Christians, more Christians have been martyred and murdered for our faith in the last 150 years than the entire 2,000 years we've been Christians. The last 150 years. More than the 2,000 years of Christianity. Does that sound like we've been martyred and persecuted? Yes. Yeah? Does it sound like it's happening in America? Not as prevalent as Sudan and other countries, right? But there are people who are trying to push policies to do just that. The DOMA Act. Man, one of the greatest things that was a violation of our First Amendment rights. Like, regardless if I'm for same-sex marriage or not, it don't matter. COVID, vaccination. It doesn't matter if I'm a Christian and I don't just want to take an experimental vaccine. It didn't matter. And for my boys in uniform, 8,000 military members were rejected. Not only say rejected, but literally kicked out of the military because they stood on their First Amendment right. 8,000. They had nothing wrong with them. They just didn't want to take experimental vaccine. But the government's like, forget your constitutional rights. You're going to do what I say. We don't care that it's God-given. I care a lot about my right being God-given. You know why? That means that you can't take it away. If it's not God-given, anybody can change it. Can you fight God? I ain't trying to fight God. Shoot, God gave it to me. Shoot, he don't want to take it away. They took and tried to stomp on their God-given rights, kicking them out of the military. And then they were surprised when only 43 of the 8,000 decided to rejoin after they said, you know, it's okay, come back. We made a mistake. 43 out of 8,000 came back. Because the other 7,000 or so was like, nah. Because if you will do that for this, how do I know that you won't do it again? See, the problem is we don't believe that we have people who hate America. We are hated by a lot of countries across this world, across this global earth. All right? They hate us. They realize they can't beat us from outside, so what's the next best thing to do? Beat us from the inside. So that's why they have infiltrated our schools. Did you know China has spent hundreds of millions of dollars and invested into American four-year universities? Why would they do it? Why would China do that? Why would a whole other country invest in our education? Because they like us, because they good people. That's why good people do that? No. It's because they know if they can control the money, they can do what? Control us. Control the policies. Control what is going to be pushed. That's why economic independence, right? One of our pillars as conservatives is important. If you dependent upon somebody, you might as well just put the rein around your mouth and just let them steer you in the direction you want to go. But when you economically independently, like, you know, who can I point out? Elon Musk, right? Can anybody stop Elon Musk? Probably not. They can't even stop the man from going to space, all right? The man's untouchable. But guess what they tried to do? They tried to stop him from buying X, right? Formerly known as Twitter. They tried to darn us. And to this day, they still hate him for doing it. But they can't stop him. Let's bring it back to a smaller example. I'm a conservative artist. My song, The Patriot, is probably going gold by next year. A gold record. That means I sold 500,000 copies. Or it's been streamed, is it 700? No, it's 75 million times, right? Now they got the stream. Thank you. And I released the song back in 2021. No, 2020. It was December 19th, 2020. And 3 weeks later, who knew they would have stormed the Capitol? Who would have known? They just stormed the Capitol. I don't know why Trump told them to do it peacefully, but they did it. You know, that's a whole nother discussion. But my song was unfairly targeted as inciting a riot. So guess what they did? The day of January 6th, my song was taken down off streaming platforms. Talk about First Amendment violation, right? They was like, no. You can't put that out there. American people don't need to hear a black man being supportive of the country. My song has 0 political affiliations in it. It has 0 profanity. It's all positive. Matter of fact, it's probably the most unifying song out there right now. But they said that was too dangerous. It didn't fit the narrative. They needed to paint America and Trump and them as a white supremacist. And the number 1 song at the time coming from a black guy from Mississippi just didn't help. Okay? They removed my song without cause. It took me about 2 weeks later before I got a chance to get it back up. And I fought through the council, right? That's what you would call being counseled. The reason why I was able to fight through being counseled is because I was economically independent. I wasn't signed to a major label. That means I wasn't withholding to any script or narrative. I could say what I want to say, do what I want to do. So guess what? I became resourceful again in that situation. And I made more money in those 2 weeks than I ever did on most of my music. No, I take that back. I made a lot more on music. But at the time, we'll say that. I mean, so 2 weeks I made $25,000. Let me tell you how. They canceled the song, removed from streaming platforms. I decided to upload CDs where people could purchase CDs, because CDs mean that no one can, they can't take it down, right? You can have the song forever. Everybody knew that. I sold 1,000 copies of that song, just a song on one CD, for $25. I sold one song for $25 because it was canceled. And I sold 1,000 copies. Right? Made $25,000, split between the whole crew and everything else. And then by the end of it, we got a chance to get the song back up. 2 things I learned in that was the fact that you are uncounselable when you're not beholden to anybody. When you make your own money, you're not part of any system. And since that moment, I've always been like, I don't like signing contracts. I'm gonna be real with you. Like, I'm probably the influencer that has over 5 million followers across the board. Like, they call me like a mega influencer, whatever you want to call it these days, celebrity influencer. And I'm like, nah. That's like, you work with any brands? Nope. Because the last thing I need is for Nike or somebody to be like, well, Topher, you got to kind of dial down to talk about it. Nope. Why would I do that? That's why it's tough for me to work with most people. But that's okay. Right? What's the point of gaining the world if you lose your soul? Things I think about. Because guess what? Every opportunity, or every good opportunity, is not a God opportunity. And I want to make sure that whatever opportunity I take is going to allow me to do what God called me to do. And thinking from that, more things have been, man, I'm going to tell you something, I've been so blessed from it. And a year and a half ago, just speaking on obedience and self-discipline, discipline to me is the self-imposed restrictions that one places on oneself that ultimately releases the fullness of the freedom that you're looking for. What do I mean? So there's an experiment they did. They wide open field, threw the kids in a wide open field. After an hour watching them play, they realized they only played in this small part of the field. They didn't go all the way to the edge or nothing. They just played in this small circle. They thought it was strange. So guess what they did? Took the kids out, put up a fence, which was a restriction, right? Put up a fence, brought the kids back in, and they realized after an hour, the kids explored every inch of the fence. Although it was less than what it was when it was open reign, they still moved more ground. Because they was able to move knowing how far they could go. A lot of times we need to know how far we can go for us to stay in line with what we're trying to do, right? So I got my life together. I was 120 pounds heavier than this. I was a chunky boy. I don't know if y'all remember watching my videos, but I was Topher walking around, out of breath. And like, how you doing? My name's Topher. I go around quizzing people on the Bible. And that was me. You remember those videos? That was me, 120 pounds heavier. And the Lord spoke to me one day, because I'm glad that we're about to get the health back right. In Mississippi, it's something we got to deal with. It's terrible. Our numbers are incredibly sad. And I'm trying to help fight that, because we don't believe there's importance to health. My hardest lesson on health being wealth is when I started to get this influx of money from my success as an artist, and I was going to start investing in insurance policies. Why? Because insurance policies, you can sow into them, and also you can withdraw up to 80% of whatever's in there. So I could just live off whatever 80% I withdraw while the other remain in there, and then if something happened to me, then I'll still have a payout for my family and everybody else, right? Smart. Plus it's non-taxable. I could write it off. I'm like, bro, we ain't paying taxes around here. That was my idea. But guess what? They come screen you and see if you're going to be eligible for that life insurance policy. 29-year-old Topher was told I was denied the life insurance policy at 29. Can you imagine that? Like, imagine you 50 trying to get life insurance, but 29, bro, I barely scratched the surface. Like, I ain't even 30 yet, right? 30 is when your bones start to mess up, you know. It's like you just wake up on the wrong side of the bed and your arm just numb, don't know for what reason. But I'm 29, embarrassed. And now that barrier to success and wealth that I was trying to get has been denied. Why? Because I'm black? Nope. Because I'm male? Nope. Because I lack the discipline to control what entered my body. I lack the discipline to move when I needed to move. Health is literally wealth. So when I bought my house over a year and a half ago, it was about May 2023. I was like, I just spent 15,000 whatever on a down payment, whatever it was. Purchased a $350,000 home. Really beautiful home. Really nice neighborhood, great. But the Holy Spirit and the Lord was like, that's nice and all. You live in large. But he reminded me of not Nehemiah, but Haggai, the book of Haggai, first chapter and second chapter. It says, I remember he sent the prophet Haggai, because this was after the Babylonians had destroyed the temple. So they had to rebuild it. But they weren't rebuilding the temple. They was too busy living in their luxurious homes, while his remained in ruin. And I was convicted. It's like, I don't know why, but why am I willing to invest so much money into this temporary place and ignore my permanent place? Why would I do that? That tells me there is a prioritization thing that I need to fix, right? So I determined, like, okay, at that moment, I need to fix my health. I don't know why. I just feel like I need to fix my health. And as I was reading the Bible, it says, because you neglected my house, you are not reaping everything you deserve. I'm like, wait a minute. So I'm missing out on blessings because I refuse to rebuild the temple? Like, it seems crazy when you say it out loud, but yes, you are. Society has made it so complacent to just be overweight. That's why they get whole body positivity, bro. Like, no, you fat. Like, can we just call people fat? It ain't thick. No, you past thick. It's no longer thick no more. And society is trying to fool us. Because guess what? We think there are not people who are monetarily motivated to push this nonsense. The sicker you are, guess what? Where do you go? You go to the hospital. You prescribe more medicine. You go to more clinics. You have a higher chance of depression. Guess what? Psychologists like, yeah, baby. Because y'all got to come see them now. So now you, once again, becoming dependent upon the system. The system doesn't want you doing great things. They don't want you thinking for yourself, being in shape. But I say, you know what? I'm going to get in shape because that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm a conservative. I'm a Christian. I got to stand on my values. Man, I got in shape. All kind of doors opened up. I mean, all kinds. Now I became a Turning Point contributor. I got a chance to work with a company that went from wanting me to be an influencer to bringing me on as a partner, right? And I could see that company being a multi-million-dollar company within a year or two. Like, these are things that are opportunities I would have missed out on if I didn't enact the discipline necessary to improve my life. If I was not accountable to my future self. A lot of times we want to be accountable to ourselves now. What about your future self? How have you been accountable to him or to her? In 10 years, 5 years, what you want yourself to be doing? If you want to be a successful person, then guess what? You probably don't need to be having kids out of wedlock. Because it drags you down. Unnecessary drama. So y'all might not be old enough to know drama. Let me tell you something. Drama is for your mama. And you don't want it. Okay? You don't want it. I've seen it. And so many people deal with it unnecessarily. If they just would have made 1 or 2 different decisions when they were younger. If they would have thought just a little bit longer about their future self and been accountable to them, they would have went on a whole different trajectory. Right? And I'm saying that I made some dumb decisions, bro. Like, I'll probably be further along. But you live and you learn, and some of the mistakes you make help shape you, right? We're not defined by our past, we're refined by it. Okay? As conservative, we're not defined. Because we're victors, okay? We're not victims. You learn from it. You refine your choices. You refine your walk. You refine your journey. It's like, nah, we can't do that again. I owe it to myself. If it's nobody else, I owe it to myself to do better. That's one of my mom's favorite sayings. She passed away back in 2020, right before they shut down COVID and all that stuff. She passed away from glioblastoma, which is stage 4 brain cancer. And I got a chance. I was blessed to be in the hospital with her every second. A lot of people during that year, they didn't have that opportunity. So I'm not going to complain about it. But one of her favorite sayings was, because I told her earlier, like, I was a smart head, right? I was a rebellious kid. I remember I told my mom one day, I graduated valedictorian in my class. I failed to mention that, but I think it's irrelevant. Maybe it's some relevancy, but 1 out of 22, I ain't much to brag about. Now, if I was 1 out of 2,200, I'll be walking around here, listen here, I'm the best thing smoking. But 22, I kind of like, well, it's 22. You know what I'm saying? Boston Marathon or Philadelphia Marathon. I mean, which one, Boston Marathon, I'll probably brag, but Philadelphia's like, hey, no, it's just a little shindig. But anyway, graduated valedictorian, but before I graduated, I think about year 2, I told my mama, the only reason why I'm making A's is because you want me to make them. And I was saying that, like, don't get it twisted. Like, the only reason I'm doing this is because you want me to do it. And then she looked me dead in my face. I'll never forget. She was like, she turned around and said, boy, I don't care. You got to want it for yourself. I said, huh? How dare you, mama? Why you talk to me that way? I was offended because she didn't really care. She encouraged me. But the best thing she could have told me was, I have to want it for myself. Because I can't want it for everybody else. If you want it for your brother and your brother leave, what happens? If you want it for your mom and dad and they leave, what happens? When no one else is around, what happens? Are you still going to stand up on what you believe in? Are you still going to fight for what you want? Or are you going to crumble? Or are you going to fold? Which one is going to be? So I learned to want it for myself. And ever since then, that's been our family motto. Go get it. It's there. See, one of the principles I learned from the Bible is this. Genesis 1:26, 1:27 talks about when he created man, right? Let us make man in our image, in our likeness. Right? He says, and give him dominion over the fish of the sea, fowl of the air, over the cattle and all over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. Right? That's what God did. And I was like, man, if I go back and really think about that, I was designed for success from the very beginning. It's up to me to realize it. Satan is the master of this world system, right? And his whole goal is to keep us from realizing that. None of us were a mistake. Even me being born outside of wedlock and being born, as they call my mom, would have been the side chick. But I wouldn't be here today if we just got rid of every evil thing in the world. Right? I wouldn't be here today. So I'm a little sympathetic to mistakes. But we are designed for success from the very beginning. And you can realize that you're designed for success. You need to equip yourself with the principles that go along with that. You need to start valuing, because we talk about leadership academy, right? So here's some things you need to worry about. So as a leader, you have to remember the power of your presence. Some people walk in the room, nobody noticed. Then somebody else walk in the room, everybody's like, yo, who that? Right? There's power to your presence. And a lot of you all have it naturally without doing much. Right? And if you don't manage that properly, you can mess up a lot of things. And you can turn people the wrong way as well. Right? The pressure to perform as a leader. A lot of us have the pressure to perform. I know the pressure. I've been on stages where there's 1,000 people. Where when people hear something on the radio, they expect that in person. When someone buys a product, they expect it to be what you promised you would deliver. Like there's a pressure to perform as a leader. There's a lot of things as a leader that you got to do. Purpose. You know what I'm saying? The pathway to purpose, whatever that's going to be. It's so important for you to be a leader. And all of us are leaders. We were designed to be leaders. We got our own little domain, our own social circle, we call it. Our own community that we're meant to lead. Some of us leading 1,000. Some of us leading 2 people. But you're still a leader. Nonetheless. And the Bible says everything you do, do as if you're doing unto the Lord. Everything you do. So it's not about the position. It's not about the power. It's not about the praise. It's about the purpose. Are you fulfilling your purpose? Are you making your difference when you look around? Are you? On that note, I'm going to end it. And I'm open up for questions because I know I've been talking for a hot minute. And